Okay, story time. I want to tell you about the story of me almost getting into Iranian prison once. Actually, twice, but today we're just going to focus on one of those stories. On the next one, I may share the second story. So we go back to 2015 when I was bike touring and I was cycling from Europe to Asia on my Romet bicycle. I had all the panniers and heavy gear for camping and sleeping in a tent. And I was coming through Turkey to Iran, crossing the border on a bicycle with a guy that I've met on the way. His name is Pierre, a French guy who was super kind to joined me, and we were kind of sharing the road together. So we crossed the border to Iran, no problem, and we were heading towards the Urmia Lake, which was very fascinating area, very dry, very hot as well. And we crossed the lake, super windy out there. We got to the Tabriz city where we stayed with someone who hosted us in their house. And essentially from there, we were cycling to Tehran. Once we got to Tehran and we stayed in a famous Hayam house on a couch surfing and warm showers. This was a popular spot, a spot that have seen thousands of explorers, adventurers, cyclists, bikepackers. The place was owned by Reza. He was the owner of the house, but also the basement where everyone could stay in. There were a couple of rooms created, couple of beds. There was a ping pong table, a little bit rough toilet, and a kitchen. But for travelers, that was what was enough for us. So we were really enjoying that space, especially that it was offered to us for free. While waiting for the Turkmenistan visa and all the other visas for Uzbekistan and Tajikistan, we essentially decided to hitchhike to the south and explore Esfahan and Yazd. And we were joined by a German friend, Florian, who was super excited to explore it with us. He had some difficulties up there because he had a long blonde hair, dreads, and people were often thinking from behind that he's a woman. So we had a lot of laughter along the way. Anyway, three of us, the big trio, three musketeers, decided to basically hitchhike to the south. So we got on the road, we started walking towards the south side of Tehran, and we got a car that would get us outside of Tehran. Once we got outside, it was pretty easy, and we were slowly but surely heading towards the Esfahan. Now this is where it gets pretty interesting. One of the cars who stopped were the two younger guys, kind of our age, in the mid-20s. They offer us the ride, and we were like, hey, yeah, let's go for it, you know? And it was a bit rough. They were driving super fast, playing music, we were dancing up there and just having a great time. But then suddenly what happened is that they stopped and they took off the registration plates. They took off the reg plates, they got in, and we're driving. Obviously we don't speak Farsi, so we were having a hard time understanding what's going on. But hey, we're getting a ride, we're in good spirits, so we're moving on and carrying on with the travel. 5 minutes into that ride, after the reg plates were removed, we see that on the road there's essentially a barricade, a police checkpoint. But rather than the car slowing down, we see that the guys have started speeding up. And we were driving like 170 kilometers an hour. And that was an old Peugeot car. So it was super rough, okay? We're bouncing at the back. It's very rough. And we just essentially fly through that checkpoint. I just recall one of the policemen throwing something at the car. It was like a shoe or something bounced off the car, and we just passed it. And we were looking behind to see what these guys, we have no clue what's going on, okay? We're shocked. We look behind and we see that the guys are getting into the car, and that police car essentially starts chasing us. And this is like scary. It gets a little bit scary. We are being chased by a police. We are in the most likely a stolen car, and yeah, we don't know what to do, okay? So we started pleading with these guys, hey, stop us, stop the car, get the backpacks from the trunk and get out of the car. And we were driving for another maybe 5 minutes until we really pleaded with them to stop the car. They stopped the car, we got our bags out, and these guys were on the run. We quickly got to like a restaurant or some kind of spot that had like a small market, small shop, and we essentially just stood there, and within like 2 minutes we just saw two police cars passing by. So we were like super lucky that we essentially got out of the car and the police didn't kind of spot us or didn't connect us with the stolen car that they were chasing. After the whole experience, we were laughing about it, but essentially it was very close. I mean, if we were caught in that car, I mean, that would be, well, I don't know what would happen, but we'd definitely end up in the prison and we'd probably have to use embassy one way or another to get out of the country. So it was a bit of a lack, a little bit of a stupidity from our side. But hey, it is what it is. It was a great story. And yeah, this is one to write in the books. I also want to mention that the Iranian people are not like that, okay? This is just a once-off situation or experience that we've had. Overall, the Iranian generosity and kindness were beyond measure. Okay, this is by far the Iranian people were the kindest that I've met across all the countries that I've cycled, and I've been to a few countries. Without a shadow of a doubt, I would always recommend people travel to Iran. So it's just a story. The Iranian people are totally not like that. They are super kind. We've been hosted by many people in their houses who gave us food, and from both extremes, from very poor and also very wealthy, very rich people. And we've always been welcomed. People generously have offered us to food. They offered us their place, room to stay in. The kindness was so overwhelming that my Polish mindset couldn't believe it, essentially, because you always think like, oh, the next day they're gonna ask me for money, or maybe they're gonna ask me for something, you know, they wanted something in return. But this was not the case. Iranian people were always super kind. We could complain and talk about the Iranian regime and the government and the situation up there from that point of view, but in terms of people, people are the kindest. Trust me on that, and I've seen many people say the same thing. Obviously, because I'm married to Iranian, I may be a little bit biased, but I have friends and I've read on many blogs and forums on internet that people are overwhelmed with generosity given by Iranian people. I hope you've enjoyed this story. If you did, and if you'd like more of that, just comment down below, leave a like, and also subscribe to the channel for more. I'm going to be mixing things up and sharing different story, different stuff about maybe photography, videography, maybe psychedelic mushrooms. If you're interested in that, just let me know. And thanks for listening to me. Have a great one.